Hey, how's it going? It's Grant
And Shelby K.
with the Garden of Eden, and today we're talking about the best plants for your shrimp tank. Now, this comes with many years of experience keeping several different tanks and just housing shrimp mainly as our priority, but there's not really many things you can keep with shrimp. You can keep some snails, but not a lot of people like snails. You can keep very tiny fish, but those fish are going to eat some of your baby shrimp for sure. And then you can keep other things like seed shrimp or isopods. There are other couple cohabitant things that are not going to eat the shrimp, but very, very few and far between. But really, the best thing to add to your shrimp tank is going to be plants. For many reasons, they take the contaminants out of the water, like ammonia and the pollution and stuff like that. They also help with oxygen, and then on top of that, in a shrimp tank specifically, they add quite a bit of surface area that is the perfect um, space for biofilm to grow, and that is what should be the main diet for your shrimp. So they really are like one of the best things that you could possibly add into your tank. And then another bonus, obvious. Hold on, not obvious because there are carnivorous plants, but for the most part, they are not going to eat your shrimp. So right off the ripper, we have Jeff Kane gifted 10 memberships. Wow, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Speak. Thank you so much, Jeff Kane.
Oh, man, thank you very much. That
start
goes
the
a
night
long
off.
way right now. We really appreciate that. So, um, with the plants, there is a giba. The giba is a bladderwort. It is a aquatic, basically carnivorous plant. The bladders, there's like I don't know, 1,000 different varieties or 39. It's either 1,000 or like 39. It's either like or a ton of different varieties. Maybe it's like 39 just in Florida. I can't remember what it is, but there's all different types of bladderworts just in our area. So they vary in size, but the one that's most common in the hobby is Giba UG. I'm not going to butcher the Latin name or like try to pronounce.
Ularia gramifolia.
This is why I keep you around. So that is like the most common one. The bladders are super, super tiny, but they're like little spikes on a little string. A lot of people think it might be hair algae at first or like a new plant, but really those little tiny, I don't know what to call them, branches that are coming off of the bladderwort itself. That is the wort. And what happens will seed shrimp and baby shrimp and whatnot can get caught in there, and the plant will digest that, especially in nutrient low areas and whatnot. So, uh, definitely not something you want to have in your shrimp tank. I've also seen like adult shrimp where their legs got caught in a bladder, and they acted like they were having a seizure or like they got electrocuted, struck by lightning, whatever you want to call it. But I also found that the tanks that had the UG in them were definitely not producing or having as many buried females altogether. So definitely want to take that out of your tank and not keep that. But besides the bladderworts, they're not going to eat your shrimp. So plants are definitely going to be the best thing to keep. In our experience, we try to stay away from plants that we're going to constantly need to be trimmed and replanted in order to grow and produce, a thicker, nicer looking clump or bush or whatever you're trying to make out. So with like stem plants like Liquidia or Repen, yeah, I would stay away from Repens. It's not really a really tall plant, but man, the Rotalas, that's what I was trying to go for. Where you kind of got to prune and then replant, prune and replant to really get the Plants looking really nice and bushy. Also, the stems and stuff like that need CO2 to really look at like their prime. They may not need it to grow and live, but definitely needs the CO2 to thrive, or high fertilizer and stuff like that, one way or another. So really, I don't recommend most stem plants for the shrimp tanks, because finding out that moving the substrate via water changes, or moving aquascape around, or replanting and taking out plants and uprooting and stuff like that, the roots in particular, from like crypts, are like the worst. They tap root and send runners, and the roots are just so long and widespread. They go deep, and just removing one of them really can pull like aqua. Oh man, I don't know why I wanted to say aquachar. I wanted to say
Just popped
aquasoil,
up.
but I saw Brian pop up in chat. Give me a call, man. I'm trying to get intact. The people that they are demanding aquachar right now, and I'm giving up my own personal supply. But so yeah, the pulling out the crypts will pull aqua soil from all corners of the tank, and that can stir up muck and stuff, and that can possibly create a bacterial infection. So if you're wondering why you might have a shrimp dying every single day and you mess with your substrate at all, you definitely created a bacterial infection. There are little tips and tricks and stuff like that that you can do to reduce the risk of bacterial infections a lot more. Keeping on top of your water changes. If you do happen to have to move a plant or uproot something like that, and you're going to shift a lot of substrate, do a massive water change, and do it quick. Don't let the particulates build up in the water and just sit there. Do a quick water change and siphon up that debris as fast as you possibly can. Of course, use a guard on there. We are talking shrimp tanks tonight, so you definitely don't want to lose any shrimplets, but it's definitely something that can cause issues, and we avoid it as much as possible. So I have crypts. They are the first on the list, but I'm not starting the best off tonight. I just simply wanted to mention about the substrates and the roots, and not wanting to start causing any potential issues. So I do like having crypts in my shrimp tanks. We have several tanks where we set up crypts. Just behind us in this tank in particular, you notice the first half of our tank doesn't have any plants right here, but then there's a bunch of crypts in the back of the aquarium. So I'm all for growing out a nice forest or jungle in the background of the tank, as long as I can still see the first front of the tank, and able to cull and feed the shrimp and lure them out, so I can catch and do what I need to. But it's just a ticking time bomb before they send a runner to the front of the tank, and it's going to block the view here or there. And so what I like to try and do is use those for more temporary and project tanks, so that way if I ever wanted to start something new, I can remove all the shrimp, start all over, and before I add a new shrimp in, I might take out almost all of the crypts and restart from fresh all over again. And even if I had to replace the substrate or do something like that, crypts sell pretty well. A lot of people like crypts. They're one of like the 3 horsemen that I recommend for beginner people to get into the planted tank and whatnot. So they are a higher demand plant out there. So just removing like 10 to 20 crypts out of a 10-gallon tank can pay for a fresh new bag of substrate that you might have to, replace the substrate and start all over on a new tank. Man, restart. I have no clue. Well, I was stumbling on that.
Wasn't listening.
All right. No questions? Nothing?
No.
All me so far.
Mhm.
Some of my favorite crypts, though, for shrimp tanks are going to be the smaller ones. The Cryptocorum compacta is one of the ones that it kind of gets a little bit of height in low light situations, but under good light and good water change regimen and stuff like that, it does stay nice and compact and nice and small and bushy. My favorite one is the Cryptocorum mini parva. That is the smallest crypt, It barely ever grows. If you have a tank where the entire bottom is completely carpeted with the crypt, you're still not going to have a problem culling and catching shrimp and stuff like that. They might dip off into the underneath some of the crypts, but if you have to reset that tank, those are like one of the higher demand for aquascaping. It's a super easy crypt to sell, and they hold their price for a very small plant. So um, definitely not a bad problem to have if you have a fully carpeted crypticorn mini parva tank. So those two are the ones I recommend the most. The pink flamingo is another great one. It's an expensive plant. It is a hit or miss on whether it's going to be pink like Shelby's shirt right here. She wore the shirt just for the pink flamingo reference. No, it's actually because she's sticking with the Barbie theme from her short that she posted on YouTube, if you haven't seen that. But no. With the pink flamingos, sometimes no matter what you do in a low light, low tech situation, shrimp tank, where you're not going to run CO2 and high fertilizers and stuff like that, sometimes they can be pink. Sometimes they're just going to be green. Still a pink flamingo, even if it's not pink. But they don't grow very tall. They do stay a little bit shorter than some of the Wendinis and stuff like that. So I do recommend those. For larger tanks like 20 gallons or 40 gallons in our green jade Neocaridina tank, we do have a ton of bronze crypts in the back of the green jade tank. So it's up only Oscars, live long and Oscar. We just caught, not just like a couple weeks ago, caught a colony of Oscars out in the Everglades, and I don't know if you saw that. I think I posted it on TikTok already. I'm not sure. But those are pretty much my favorite Anubis. Some of the other ones are a little. This Spiralis is another great one if you're looking for something to cover up a taller tank background plant and stuff like that. Really easy to grow. There is a red variety to it as well. But then there's like so many different varieties of crypts. Some of them are super hardy and can withstand some shipping and stuff like that. Others, they just melt and you can regrow the rhizome kind of. It's like a rhizome. I can't remember now. But it's definitely a great plant, but we don't like to have it in the majority of our shrimp tanks. So it's one of the ones where if I know I'm not going to touch the tank for a while, I like to use it. Next plant on the list, it's Bucephalandra. Bucephalandra. I don't know how to pronounce it, how you want to pronounce it. Here we call it Little Boosie Boo. And it's one of my favorites. Not the best. It is a super slow grower, and the demand for it is quite high. It is kind of an expensive plant for getting in as a beginner plant, and but and every single tank would be kind of expensive. It doesn't do as much as pulling out the ammonia and stuff like that out of the water column as the other plants because it's such a slow grower. But it is easier to maintain. You don't have to trim it. You can attach it to a piece of wood or a rock or part of the aquascape, and it's really not going to need much maintenance. If you have to trim it and let go of some of the pieces, you're not going to have an issue. A lot of people want boost, and they don't want to get it from people who are farming it overseas because you really can't tell whether it's farmed overseas or poached. So it coming straight out of a tank, grown underwater, the demand for that, the price of those boosts still hold its price a lot higher than even some of the larger mats that are grown at the farm. So it's definitely one of our favorite plants. The colors, it can flower underwater. The roots are manageable. Even if they grow into the substrate, it's not really going to be an issue. You can plant them directly into the substrate. Just make sure that you don't bury the rhizome. And then other than that, they do really well in low light. They don't need a lot of flow or anything like that. So it is one of my favorite plants. It's just expensive. All the varieties that doesn't. I'm not even going to suggest you should get this one or that one. It really is what you can find and uh, get that sustained ethically and not, you know, poached. Even though a lot of the poaching does happen from like fields that they know are going to be torn down and turned into palm oil farms and stuff like that. So not all boost farming is bad, but you really there's so much um, controversy when you talk about the boost plant. So if you're growing it in your shrimp tank, you can get it tissue culture now. So if I could recommend any of them, I would get the tissue culture ones.
Yes, they have a beautiful white bell flower that blooms. It's pretty cool. I got a couple of pictures. I think one of the cover photos for one of our live streams is my shrimp on top of a boost flower that's in the water.
Now maybe Crypt Keeper will know this answer, but crypts can bloom. I think it's extremely rare if they bloom underwater. So I'm not sure if they can bloom or not. But I've never actually seen a crypt bloom underwater. I have seen them bloom immersed. Is that it?
I don't know much. Yeah. I don't know much plants that bloom underwater. A lot of do immerse, like normal plants, like Bacopa has like one of the prettiest flowers out in nature. Got Eros bloom. They like have a little white bloom. They're not as pretty as everything else.
They'll shoot their blooms
man.
up out of the water too. So
The Utriculata is one of the prettiest native Florida plants. They even have a purple flower. The biggest, most common one you'll see are these little yellow flowers. I haven't done that TikTok. I just realized I have all those videos of that.
But the boosts, it's extremely hard to identify. A lot of them are mislabeled. A lot of the names are made up. There hasn't been a lot of scientific research done and identification being done to the boosts. A lot of them are identified by their flower. So please don't message me asking me to identify boosts. Most sellers won't even try. It's like almost impossible. So if you get a nice one like the Brownie Ghost 2011 or something like that, make sure it stays labeled on the aquarium. We do have one clump of that. So I don't know. Maybe we'll offer some boosts in the future, but I really want it to look like it grew out of an aquarium before we let any of it go. So it's taken its sweet time.
Anubis swims underwater.
Yes.
A little piece of
Yes, Anubis was next. I was going to mention that. There's a couple.
The army of trumpet snails in the tank next to you.
Oh.
They look crazy.
Yeah, the big ones too.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Sorry.
So yeah, Anubis is next on the list. Anubis does also bloom underwater. If you have it immersed, it blooms constantly. Like I always have Anubis flowers blooming outside, even when the pump stops working and the waterfall stops flowing and all the leaves die. The flowers are like the first thing that comes back. It's pretty incredible. So the ribosomes are so tough. If it dries up for a day, you lose all the leaves, but the ribosome still lives on forever. Not forever. That's an exaggeration. But Anubis is great. I recommend the Petites, the Nana Golden. There's Snow Whites. There's Stardust. There's Chili. There's Pingoliolia. I don't know how to pronounce it or what it was even scientifically Latin named or how it's spelled. It's been so long since I looked at it. But there's the Pinto. There's all different types of the smaller Anubis that I just named. Those ones are great. The ones that you haven't heard of, they're probably the more expensive ones. And like the Chili, it's like the smallest one. I think there's a mini Chili or something like that. Maybe there's a smaller Anubis out now, but they do grow quite slow, a little bit faster than Boost though. They are prone to getting algae on the leaves that get super big and in high flow and stuff like that. And you can trim those off no problem. There is like coffee that'll get really big. Coffolia, Fraseri gets pretty large in size, where it'll grow up and out of your aquarium, and the flowers can pop up out of the water and stuff like that. But you can attach them to wood, you can attach them to rocks, you can bury the roots into the substrate, just like the Busta. Don't bury the ribosomes, and they'll be all right. They do a little bit better in high
You're gonna
temp.
drive Sam crazy if you mispronounce rhizomes one more time.
Rhizomes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Keep calling it ribosomes. I thought it was your allergies until you said it again.
My bad. Ribosomes. What is a ribosome? Why am I saying ribosome? Rhizome.
Rhizomes.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Usually I have Dr. Anthony to correct me on that kind of stuff, but he's not here tonight. Or maybe
Yeah,
he is.
he already logged out. You mispronounced it once. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, probably.
I'm messing with you.
So, we got many different types of Anubis. We like to grow it immersed and then convert it underwater. It just grows so much faster out of water, and then it is does a lot better in warmer temps. We like to keep it or try to keep it in with like the Sulu SA or the cichlid tanks and stuff like that. Some of the cichlids are just relentless and they won't let any plants, but it is one of the ones I'll recommend with cichlids to try and test out on like a piece of wood or rock or something like that. But it is great for shrimp tanks. And then we have Lagonandra. To me, Lagonandra is like the cross or like in the middle of a crypt and an Anubis, because it's got the rhizome more like an Anubis, but it looks basically just like a crypt. So it's really cool. They're one of the newer varieties out. They are pretty much just as hardy as the crypts. They do melt quite as bad in shipping, we are finding out, just like the crypts. But they're a great plant. You can attach them to a wood or something if you want like a floating crypt tree or something like that. Lagonandra is where it's at. Nothing else? This is all me tonight?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next on the list is Java ferns. Java ferns are definitely one of my favorites. From the very beginning, Java fern has been like one of our go-to plants. It is super easy to care for and maintain, even if the plant leaves turn brown and look like they're dying. Most of the time, they start little tiny other plants at the end of the plant leaves, and they're really easy to propagate, create new ones. They grow in dirty water, clean water, low light, high light. It really doesn't matter. These things are savages. I don't know why they're not part of the Three Horsemen. Anubis and Crypts are part of that, but they don't have a Four
It's
Horsemen.
Anubias.
So Anubias.
Julian said if we're going to start pointing things out, Anubis is a Egyptian
I know I've
god.
said Anubius at least
Anubius
once
is
before
the
that.
plant.
So yeah, you'll get everything from me. I'll say it wrong and right, or I won't say it right at all. That's how it goes. But I love me some Java ferns. There's a lot of varieties. The ones I love the most are going to be the Windlove. They kind of stay a little bit smaller, but they've got all the texture. I like the Trident. It's really hard to get your hands on it. It's one of the least common ones. It grows a lot slower, doesn't propagate nearly as fast, but it does get really big. And for a shrimp tank, it is nice to have that surface area. And then I like the narrow leaf. There's a needle leaf. Needle leaf and the Windlove are my two favorites. They're the smaller ones. They're the best ones to use for aquascaping, and the least amount of maintenance. Java fern is itself low maintenance. You rarely ever have to trim it or get rid of it. It can just fill up like half of a 10-gallon tank, and it's not really going to get much bigger. It might grow up, but like I have some that are just down there, and they're just like begging me to like split them up and put them into a bigger tank because it seems like they've maxed out at the 10-gallon tank and they're not gonna get any bigger. So definitely got some work to be done there. What's up, Jeremiah? Oh,
When Grant says Baker AE instead of Factor AE.
I know I've said Bacter and Bakery, but
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Paying to rag on you.
I'm fine with it.
I love it. You gotta realize how many clubs and how many meetings and how many shows we go to, and you cannot tell me how many people mispronounce things. So you talk to someone for about an hour, first time ever, about a certain product. You pick that word up, and then you say it wrong forever because someone had said it wrong to you in the first place. So it's all
someone
over
with
the
an
place.
accent probably says it's Bacter AE or something like that, and I don't hear I didn't hear the T at first, and that's why it's like just stayed with me. But Richard, we were coming down, but yeah, plans have changed. Instead of Mark meeting us at your place, he didn't have the time, so I met him at his place, and we just did some collecting right around his house. So I still want to make it down your way. Still, chances are that is going to happen before the Keystone Clash. However, it'll be with Alex possibly. So I don't know if that's cool with you. You let me know. But I'm not sure if we're going to have time or where he wants to go or what he wants to do. But I want to catch some chameleons, so I'm about going to your house still. It was spur of the moment running down there. We didn't even know it was going to happen. He's just like, come on down.
Never seen this problem before. For some reason, I can't grow Java fern well. It just always dies when I put it in my tank.
All right, so there's two things that might be going on here. One, your water's too clean, and that might be a problem. I grow it a lot better in our Caridina tanks where they're constantly releasing minute amounts of nutrition into the water column. So that's going to feed the Java ferns just enough to keep them going. The other thing is like for the Java fern mats, these come from a nursery, and I always tell people, look, they're probably going to die back, but don't give up on them. The rhizomes are going to regrow new plants, and they're going to look really, really well. I don't know if Shelby can go over to the angelfish tank real quick and take a picture because it looks like half of it's dying. And the honest truth is almost all of it died off. And then you can tell where some of the plants grew off of the tops of the leaves, and then some of them are growing off of the rhizomes.
The angelfish tank?
Yeah, just take a picture of it real quick. Sorry. But yeah, it maybe not give up on it. Maybe you threw it away too soon. If the rhizomes on the Anubis or the Boos or anything that has a rhizome, if it's still hard, chances are it's still alive. So you've got to have faith that it'll come back. So I don't know which issue you have, but Shelby should have a picture here in a second. Sam says UNS say that True Needle Leaf is not in the U.S. hobby. I mean, you would be surprised what's been brought into the U.S. hobby from the shrimp hobby and stuff like that. So it's not common, but I definitely have some that is smaller than narrow leaf, and then I have some that's even smaller than that. So
right here, you can see the plant is all looks like it's dead. This is a new plant that just came off of it.
And then you can see on the bottom where the leaves, the green leaves are coming up. Those are brand new leaves that are growing off of the rhizome. So you're just going to bring it up like that?
Yeah, I think I can.
All right.
Make it
I'm going
look
to bring
easier.
it up for you. But
A lot of people don't realize it and then throw that plant away, which I have been guilty of ripping off because I absolutely can't stand to look at any Java fern that looks like it's dying. It bothers the crap out of me. So I always try to take them out and then I realize there's a plant on it because that's how it reproduces.
But Sam, I also have another example. Is when we were at the Triple Crown, you was telling me the narrow leaf that I was selling was needle leaf, and I was telling you, nah, man, I have some that's even smaller than that I call needle leaf. So I have my standards set pretty high, and I can tell you I have some needle leaf 100%.
Yep. So you can see brand new plants coming out, but it looks like it's dying all over the place, but it's not. It's regrowing. You can
Well, it
see
is
this,
dying.
yeah, all the right
Individual
side, yeah.
leaves are dying,
Yeah.
but the plant itself, life finds a way. It's growing from every little.
I shouldn't have put
minute
Jurassic Park
spot.
on the other day. You're gonna say that all week, aren't you?
Say what?
Life finds a way.
I don't even know. No.
That's a Jurassic
That's just
Park
something I would have
quote.
said anyway.
That's a Jurassic Park quote.
Listen, my name's Grant. I like dinosaurs.
Oh, okay. What is it? Professor Grant? Is that what they call him? No,
Dr.
Dr. Grant. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
All right, so Java ferns, they're amazing little creatures. They might look ugly at times, but they're definitely going to come back. And I'm sorry if yours don't, but maybe you gave up too soon. Next on the list is another fern. We have Bulbitis. It's not as common or as easy to grow as Java ferns. There's a few different varieties. There is a mini variety. It grows so slow, and it really kills me how slow this stuff grows. I've had like the same pot from an aquatic experience in Chicago from like 2017 or probably 2016 maybe. I don't know. And it has not grown at all. Like maybe each little individual fern has grown like half an inch to an inch in 6-7 years. It is crazy. So there is other varieties that get larger, and I hoard it. It is one of my top favorite plants. Like I've said that a couple times about the Boos and the Java ferns being my favorite, but Bulbitis is better than all of them so far. So it is up there. Texture of the leaves and color and everything like that. It's just one of my favorite plants. So you attach it to a log, or we have it growing really nicely in our green jade tank on some lava rock. It's one of the coolest plants to grow and crawl onto it. So highly recommend. If you get any Bulbitis, don't buy it. Dane, stop, or buy it and hoard it. But Dane, stop buying it at the auctions, all right? I want it. You keep taking it all.
That's
I
a
thought you
good
had
point,
something.
June. Said I have learned not to take a dead plant out of the tank, just like shrimp. It could still be alive and will rebound. If not, something will eat it. Yeah. Usually, sometimes you do want to be careful if you have too many plants and then they start to die, because that could cause an ammonia spike with too much decaying on the bottom if you don't have enough shrimp to eat it. I have seen issues with tanks like that, but pretty
You
rare.
definitely
They
trim
still
that
usually
off
eat,
and not give up on the entire plant.
Yeah, I've regrown a lot of plants that have roots specifically. I will chop the entire thing, and if it doesn't look good at all, and then plant the roots, and it'll grow back. Like I've said it in a live stream before, is that if a leaf is dying, that plant and the roots are trying to give it nutrients to bring it back, but it can't. So you're just wasting the nutrients it could use to provide for new leaves. So just chop it all off if it's bad. It might look stupid with one little leaf sticking up, but it will grow faster if you do that.
Now, my next plant It's not one of my favorites at all, but it's definitely doable. And these are swords, Amazon Flame, Reuben. There's a ton of them. My favorites are the red flame, the red Reuben, and then the red ocelot. They just the red color onto them and the texture of leaves and stuff like that. But this is really one of those plants where you just want to put one of them, place it off to the corner in front of the sponge filter or something like that, and just let it do its thing. And you're not going to want to move it or mess with it at all, because, like I mentioned, you can have an issue with bacterial infection and stuff like that. So I would pick your favorite sword, place it into a tank, and then just watch it grow and watch it do its thing. It's not going to really spread and clump out like a crypt. It could actually flower and send a runner. And I know there's a term for it, and I just don't know what it is. But basically, the flowers on it all turn into individual plants, and you can cut those off and start brand new plants in a different tank that's not your shrimp tank. So
Big Dog said, "As the temperature gets to 78, is it bad for shrimp?"
it's not bad at all for Neocaridina shrimp. However, with Caridina shrimp, you can have some issues with tiger shrimp getting bacterial infections and stuff like that. We were having issues before Shelby's dad fixed our doggy door, and our temperatures in the house was getting a little high, and the tanks that were up top and higher towards the ceiling, hot air rises. Those tanks were definitely getting on the warm side, and they didn't have any issues with bacterial infection. But there used to be a breeder in California, and he didn't have AC in his house. And every single year, come springtime, he would buy shrimp, and then in the summer, he would have massive die-offs. And we just didn't understand why he didn't invest with like just a window AC unit or something like that. But maybe his tanks weren't kept up on the par and stuff like that. Crypt Keeper is going to be joining us this week. I think that might have
Did you
actually
send
been
him the
message us. No, I'm asking you to
link?
do that now.
Oh.
So he asked that. Oh, that is a dialed in, Crypt. I got you. We were thinking of the same thing. So just ask the first one that we came up with, man. I don't have time to read all the other stuff. I didn't read it before the stream. I apologize. But the swords are great. Just don't move them once you plant them. But I mentioned they're not going to spread out. The leaves and stuff like that are going to get massive. You can prune and trim the leaves all you want. It's not really going to affect it or your shrimp tank or anything like that. So it is one of the three horsemen, and I do recommend it for beginners because them, Anubis, and Crypts, basically, if you're killing those, you're probably going to kill like every other plant as well. So, yeah, want to start out with those three plants. They're going to be great ones.
Johnny said, "What pH or TDS does Java Fern do best?"
I don't really know that answer because it does well in our Sulawesi tanks with 8 to 8.5 pH until the rabbit snails devour them. It does great in our tanks with 5 pH, where we have Caridina tanks like our mini. The needle leaf Java fern is growing in the lowest pH possible. So I wouldn't really recommend a pH. TDS, it's really not going to matter too much. If you're having an issue with Java fern, maybe, just maybe, your water temperature is too high. I'm not sure if it's a big fan of warmer water. It is doing all right out in the garage, but it's not like thriving as well as the tanks inside. Right. So, if anything, temperatures under 78 for Java fern would probably be ideal.
Robert says, "These are the plants I have: Java Fern, Trident, Anubis Nana, Moss, and Pothos, and they work well for me. What would you change anything to make it better?"
So, I'm not a big fan of the Pothos. tends to send out big, long roots that dig into the substrate. If you're going to leave it and not touch it, then great. But everybody wants to kind of bend it and get it growing out of one tank into another. And then if you've got a lid on the tank, every time I move my lid on one of my tanks that has some pothos or some monstra or something growing out of the top of it, I'm pretty sure it moves or wiggles the roots in that aquarium just slightly. And it is the aquarium on top of the refrigerator that I don't have really well bred colony going in that tank. So if I had to blame it on anything, I would say it's the roots from that. So I would just avoid using the pothos if it's touching your root tank. I'm sorry, if the roots are touching your substrate. However, you could go at it. I'm about to talk about other plants here in a little bit. If you want to trim and prune the roots before they hit the substrate and you want to keep on top of that extra maintenance, then it's not going to be a problem.
I mean, it works fine for mine.
For what?
I
For your
have it on
fish
my
tanks.
red cherry thing. Right on my kitchen counter.
You don't have a lid, so you're not messing or knocking with the substrate ever.
Yeah, I'm not pulling them.
Yeah.
Jeff Kane says, in my experience, bulbitis just rots and dies extremely frustrating. I would say that bulbitis, a lot of people plant, and I would never suggest planting bulbitis. You could either just have it floating on top of the substrate or to attach it to a piece of wood. And I would not suggest doing super glue. A lot of people overdo it and end up binding the root, and it causes it to melt. But the biggest thing with bulbitis is I do think it does prefer softer water to harder. Now, it does grow in like 7 pH.
We have it growing in our shrimp tubs
I think
outside,
it grows
but
faster inside.
It doesn't grow up fast at all.
It's softer than all other like Java ferns and things like that. You got to think of it. It's very soft. So it just tends to do better in a lower pH.
And I find it does best if you can wedge it in between like a rock crevice or like a little branch or something like that. Like what Shelby mentioned, it doesn't like to be like compressed with super glue or something like that. If you just wedge it in its spot, it grows better than anything else I've found.
Bulbitis versus Crinium calostradium. Calstradius. Can't do that one tonight.
So I definitely prefer the looks of bulbitis and everything basically that bulbitis has to offer over the crinium. But like, I'd be lying if crinium wasn't one of my favorite plants as well.
We
just bought like 15 of them early to have them for the Keystone Clash, because every single time we try to have it for the Keystone Clash or another event, it seems to sell out. Like one of the other vendors bought it before we did, so I jumped on it early so we could have it.
Growing much better too, a little bit healthier. It is bulbitis. You can just float. Where crinium, you have to plant that, but don't plant it too in there. A lot of people plant the bulb, which needs to be exposed. It's just the roots that need to be planted, and it grows. It's just a very slow grower. And it does get frustrating in the long run when you do try to catch shrimp out of your tank, because that thing for some reason grabs a hold of you, and it is like an octopus. I mean, I struggle with that thing. It wraps right around your net real fast, but it is my favorite plant, like just to overall look at, because I love octopus and tentacles. So.
Bulbitis, I think, is a little bit more of a showstopper, and it's better to skate with and stuff like that. But if you just bring like some average person over or someone like that doesn't really know aquarium plants, almost everyone goes, "Oh my God, what is that plant? That plant looks so cool." So it is like a must-have plant if you have like a wide open, you're trying to have something in the middle, but you still want a lot of room for your fish to swim. It's
gonna look really good. That is my dad's tank, and they had an octopus, so I planted all the crinium right around it. They are brand new, like little baby crinium plants, but that will just like spiral out of control and be all over the place. So So hopefully you could actually see that. It's got mystery snails, so they're gonna love that.
It's just not a plant I'd recommend in shrimp tanks. We have them in our 55-gallon tanks because they get big and tall.
Mhm.
They take up a lot of space.
Yeah, we'll never move it in the shrimp tank that we have. I would move the shrimp before we ever take the crinium plant out, honestly.
And then we just talked about swords. And just like stem plants, I minutely talked about the Rotala and Lugwidia and replanting and stuff like that. There are some stem plants that I like the Hygrophilias, the Stricta, the Hygrophila pinifoliata. Those are some of my favorite ones. Some of the Pogostemons, the Pogos downoi, the Halphori. That one doesn't really get that tall. It can get like 6 inches in low light, low fertilizer conditions and stuff like that. But just like the crinium, it gets the ruffled curly leaves. It is a showstopper on its own right. One of my favorite upfront foreground plants. And then it's just not a lot of maintenance. The Hygrophila pinifoliata, that one you can grow. I know I butchered that. I'm just having fun at this point, right? That you can actually attach to wood and get it to grow out of the substrate. That's a really fun little project. The leaves have a lot of nice texture and stuff like that to them. So I definitely recommend those ones. They're a little bit slower growing, don't take a lot of maintenance. You don't need to replant them and stuff like that to make it look better. Just start off with the right amount of stems in the very beginning, get the tank cycled and going. Maybe replant one time before you put in the shrimp. But once the shrimp are in the tank, I just let those stems ride. So that's why the stems are not one I really recommend, but they're not bad.
Melanie says, I feel a lot of pressure to set up a shrimp tank in honor of you guys coming. I just bought 2 empty tanks. I actually have no shrimp. Yikes. Oh man. It would be so cool to set up a shrimp tank with you and then give you some shrimp when we're there. That'd be so cool.
It would have to be a blackwater tank, so you'd have to have like some yellows or something
so
like that
cool.
would like shine in
even
the
red.
blackwater tank.
Even red would be so cool. Big Shrimpin says, Grant and Shelby probably answered this 1,000 times, but are you guys coming to the Clash?
We are actually a silver sponsor to the Keystone Clash. We got 2 booths because one booth has not been enough to hold down the fort.
We need some elbow room.
And yeah, I mean, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice that you were drinking.
Well,
You
gotta
okay?
Go change my pants.
Oh my God. I'm not paying attention. I'm reading and didn't notice that you were taking a break at that time. So yeah, we needed some elbow room clearly. And we've got 2 booths, corner booth, and we plan on bringing quite a few things. I'm not sure if Harley from PNW Customs is going or having a booth, but we're going to escape a few tanks of those, bring those with us. And then I also heard that there's going to be a ice cream party, so I'm all for that as well. Now we've got floaters on the list. Not a huge fan of most of the floaters here in Florida. We can't have water lettuce and the water hyacinth. I'm butchering that. Maybe Shelby knows it, but hyacinth, I can't. It's like a bubbly plant at the bottom, similar leaves to like a frog bit, and then big purple flowers. But it's highly invasive here in Florida. The water hyacinth, how do you say it?
Hyacinth.
Hyacinth.
Or something
Thank
like
you.
That.
Why am I stumbling tonight? Like, I know they want to make fun of it, so I'm just going to say it wrong. You didn't have to change your pants.
They were soaking wet.
It'll be fine. We'll dry fast.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So we can't have any of those floaters. They don't really do well in shrimp tanks anyways. There's no such thing as dwarf water lettuce. There's just simply stunted growth water lettuce. So in low light, low fertilizer conditions, it doesn't really produce very well. However, If you're growing it outside, it really takes off and it will go back to its normal massive water lettuce looking self. There's even a curly water lettuce that looks really cool, and I wish I could get that, but it's just not legal here in Florida, so we're not allowed to have it. My favorite is frogbit. There is a tiger stripe frogbit as well. However, like I talked about the pothos, the roots can grow massively quickly and they will get into the substrate, and then the roots, you go to move them or the plants around, and then you just ripped up a bunch of substrates. So if you're going to add in the frog bait, you definitely got to stay on top of trimming off the roots so that way they don't hit the substrate. um, Duckweed, it's like the herpes of the aquarium hobby, let's be honest. Nobody really wants it. Everyone thinks they want it in the beginning because they hear all the great benefits that it can provide for you, the tank. I can see it's, having its advantages with Achilles fish and stuff like that, where you've got jumpers and you're trying to prevent them from exiting your tank. But the shrimp are not really trying to do that. They do love the duckweed, where they pick up in the floaters, and it looks like they go on little rides and they bring them down to the bottom. They're just eating the biofilm in the microorganisms that are living inside the guppy, the duckweed and stuff like that. But it is a lot of work, and most of the time, getting rid of the duckweed, you get rid of baby shrimp. It's a lot of work to try and like siphon the baby shrimp out of the duckweed as you take it out. And then you also have an option between like normal duckweed and giant duckweed. So I guess if you have to go with one, get the giant one. It's a little bit easier to maintain. And then there's the Salvinia culticata. I can't remember. It's just SC. It's a floater. And it's like the better one to have. Honestly, the roots don't get that long. It's really easy to manage. If you do take it out of an aquarium, it is easy to like really clean off and shake and do some RO water or something like that to get all the babies out.
So Scotty's talking about the fish show entry registration is open. Laura has already set the bar high for shrimp, and Crypt Keeper plans to as well. We might not enter, and it depends on who. I'm so sorry to say this, but it really depends on who you have judging for shrimp. So if you can't get someone that actually knows what they're doing, then Grant will probably take the opportunity to judge that section for you instead of entering, because I am still disappointed. I have one of the nicest shrimp, $50 shrimp, that lost to a snail. That people throw out of their tank for garbage, like in the garbage. They don't even like use it in their garden. It was literally a garbage snail, and it beat a $50 shrimp. So like, I would absolutely not enter that competition unless you know someone that's going to be judging it that knows what they're doing.
I purposely entered shrimp that would not do as good as Shelby's. Like, I knew Shelby had the Red Galaxy. I knew in the house I really had nothing as nice as a Red Galaxy. I'm not going to bring a boa to the Keystone Clash. All right. And if I would have brought a boa to the Keystone Clash, you know what would have happened? It would have lost to a red cherry shrimp. That's what would have happened. So really, I don't know how my Tangerine Tiger beat the other Tangerine Tiger in the contest, but like, so yeah, I'm all for it again, but I for sure am not bringing any Carabina shrimp at all. I'll bring the nicest snowball shrimp you've ever seen, and people will just think it's the nicest ghost shrimp they've ever seen. How you like that? Prawns are Snow White. That's how you do
it. That pink is popping. Yes. When KFC sent me this shirt, I was like, that's for me. I was so happy because it's a question. Like, we have the same exact size shirt. So I was like, no, this one's mine. And it had my name written on and everything. So I was super happy, and I love this color so much. I don't really wear pink, but I'll wear this pink.
And there's another floater that's on my list. It's a love-hate relationship. It really is. It's the Rickia. It's crystal moss. It's a floater. It breaks up. It looks incredible. If you take it and you put it into a clump and then tie a bunch of like string or mesh around it and just keep it as like a nice little ball inside the aquarium, the texture, the color, and everything, it just pops so nicely. But every single fiber in its plant-like body wants to separate and start floating. So it's going to send little particulates up into the water column, and those particulates are going to fall into other plants, and it's just going to get scattered throughout your aquarium during water changes and when you try and catch shrimp and stuff like that. So it just really doesn't have any like structure that wants to hold on to each other. It all like just is tired of one another and it wants to break apart as fast as possible. I like it. It does its job. I prefer it over all of the other floaters that I mentioned. I don't know how I didn't mention it on my first. Yeah.
What
First go.
botanicals would you prefer for new Caridina shrimp setups newbies? We don't really recommend botanicals.
But if we do, it's
For me, it's catappa leaves.
it's the only.
Yeah, like everything else could be like we've fed like guava leaves and papaya, like, but you have to make sure that they're sourced without pesticides and stuff. Like we grew them, we sun dried them and used them as food, but like not a botanical. But that's the only one I would prefer is catappa. We've used it several times and
They're just not needed. So
Not
why
yet.
waste your money
yeah.
and create mold in the tank? That's all you're really gonna do.
The leaves are the only thing that I don't care about too much with mulm because like they actually do take care of it. Like in the Machiobranchium tank, the shrimp from Peru, that tank's doing great, and it's the water changes on top of it. It's fine as long as you take care of the tank. That would be the only one I would suggest. Let me find this. Foxy Fish is coming in with a $5 mermaid fund. Thank you so much, Foxy.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I think that's going to bring us to the top of the list, not the last, and it's the very best. I saved the best from last. There's a lot of plants. I could sit here and talk about different plants for ages. I'm not a plant guy. You guys, I mean, I am like a plant guy to some people, but like I don't consider myself a plant guy, right? So this is going to top out the list here, but the best is definitely by far going to be moss. It has the most benefit, period, out of anything for your shrimp tanks. It doesn't send in any roots to go into the substrate, so you can constantly harvest it. There is some moss that will grow on the substrate. Pretty much all moss will eventually grow or attach to some of the substrate, but really whatever comes up with that moss, it's just going to be a super thin layer. You're not making any like crevices or anything being dug up or unrevealed, or the roots pulling from opposite ends of the tank to really stir up anything when you pull out this moss. For us, a small little clump of most types of moss will grow and fill out a 10-gallon tank every 6 months. So just removing that moss out of the aquarium reduces all of the algae issues and stuff like that. The moss is going to grow exponentially, depending on the moss, will grow in several different directions. So the surface area really goes off the charts when you have a tank full of moss. That surface area, of course, is going to grow biofilm, but also there is a plethora. It's like an estuary where the moss is for little microorganisms for the shrimp to eat and have their babies and stuff like that. So we just want to have a good amount of moss in the aquarium, but not too much, so that way we can still see all of the aquarium, not all the shrimp and all the colonies, so we can call and work on it and stuff like that. I can and I will talk about moss for several minutes to come, but it is time.
It's time.
And I haven't had it for a minute.
It's been so long.
It's been a while. Welcome back.
Oh, what are you doing?
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey.
How's it going? Glad you could join us. I know life is more important, but you're here. That's all that matters now.
Yeah, I'm here tonight. That's all that matters.
Right.
So, my question tonight has to do with the topic. Anubias. I've heard some rumors that they might be toxic to shrimp. I was wondering if you had any experiences with that at all?
So it's not really something that comes up anymore. But when I first got in the hobby 9 years ago or so now, actually I think it'll be 10 years in November. I'm going to be a whole decade old into the shrimp hobby. Catching shrimp for many eons, but only keeping them in the aquariums for breeding purposes now for almost 10 years. But when I first got into it, I think there's actually like a meme that went around that don't trim your Anubis. It is toxic for your shrimp tanks. And I don't know how the theory got squashed or how it came to be or anything like that. But basically, somebody noticed a massive die-off when they trimmed one of their tanks and it had a bunch of Anubis in it. Now, I don't know if they did other things in the aquarium and they had just added Anubis or what, but my guess is they created some type of bacterial infection, moved some substrate around or something happened, and they had a massive die-off. And because they also did at the same time they trimmed the Anubis, they just ran with it. And you know how the internet can work. It'll take off like fire. People will get paranoid, and it'll just be like that. Hey, don't do this. But at the same time, there is also enough people going, I trim my Anubis in my shrimp tanks all the time, and I don't have any issues. So there was never really any concern, I think, from my end. But it was definitely a rumor, and I think it pops up from time to time that you shouldn't trim your Anubis, that it could be toxic. But that's totally untrue. We trim our Anubis leaves all the time in our shrimp tanks and have never had any issues.
Oh, okay. That's really good to know because I like the Anubias and I'd like to put some in some of the shrimp tanks and was always skeptical of it.
I've never even thought about it, and like I've trimmed them 100 times in shrimp tanks and never had an issue. So I never believed that rumor, I guess, and just never like stuck true. The only other thing I could think of is that person who might have said something could have had contaminants on their tools, on their hands, and then trimmed Anubis and then thought it was the Anubis and not something else they had touched earlier that day. That is more likely what probably killed the shrimp.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
I think the person that it happened to just happened to be like a big name or a big part of the hobby at the time. So it just had a lot of, backing to it. And a lot of people ran with it. But it's not really something to be a concern.
Okay, definitely reassuring. Thank you so much, guys.
How many tanks are you up to now?
35.
Very nice. You're going to be at 40 by the end of the year?
Hopefully.
All right. Well, I think we already discussed you won't be back next week, but we'll see you the following week after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we will look forward to that. Thank you, Crypt Keeper.
Yep. See you guys later. Yep, you too.
All right. So,
nice.
You got a question or back to Moss?
No, back to Moss.
All right.
You can talk all night about Moss.
I can talk all night about Moss. I love Moss because zero fertilizer, zero CO2. The stuff grows like mad. It is something that I was trying to chase like crazy, just like the shrimp, where I wanted to have every single variety. I was trying to keep every single variety of moss. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the moss that I was buying in the beginning of the hobby was like just immersed growth, not really something that was supposed to be kept underwater anyways. So I was growing more hair algae, of course, and the moss was even just trying to survive. But there are certain types of mosses that just grew and thrived and overtook other mosses that weren't doing so well. And it took me a while to stop trying to grow two types of moss in the same tank and stuff like that. And I eventually found out that certain types of moss thrive and do really well in our water, and then other ones just simply uh, they're so slow growing, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing. Boost moss, it's one of my favorite mosses. It's a generic name. There's no real Latin term. Maybe every single boost moss is different in its own way. Maybe some of them are the same and stuff like that. But basically, boost moss is just any moss that comes in on a particle of boost, or any mat or anything like that. Um, quite frequently, when you bring in boost, you'll have other things growing in on it. Some of the moss will be bigger, but the boost moss is the one that stays particularly small, super slow growing. At times, it was going for like $100 for like a quarter size piece of it. We have a couple tanks where it grows and does pretty well, but it is not doing a golf ball to a full tank in 6 months. We're lucky if a golf ball will turn into 5 golf balls by the end of the year.
Nano says, which is that you have the most issues with?
Of moss,
I'm assuming, since we've been talking about moss.
I would say the boost moss, because it's so slow growing. I grow more hair algae in it than I do the moss. Probably half of the year I have something on top of the boost moss tank, whether it be right now it's the Bug Pro container or a towel or something like that, just to kind of shade the tank so it doesn't get direct light, because that'll just grow more hair algae than the moss will grow itself. So it's a tricky one to figure out to get the right amount of light.
Cora says, how do you grow moss instead of algae? I'm doing daily water changes on this little bucket and it keeps going green water.
So green water, it's just a bucket. If you don't have a filter, I don't know what you're feeding it or how much light it's getting. But
be the problem there.
yeah, if you're not, the thing about moss is it likes clean water. So if you have algae growing, then your filtration is off or something like that, because if the water isn't clean, you're going to grow more algae than you will moss. The moss just doesn't do well in dirty water. So we have a video on how to grow aquatic moss, but all I really do is 50% water changes every other week. It grows a lot better in our aqua soil tanks than it does our inert substrate and stuff like that. It grows super slow and inert because we're not adding any fertilizer, but I'm sure if we were adding ferts, we can get it to grow just as fast. But with just doing water changes, the moss really does well. It loves clean water and low light.
Sam said Anubias, like other plants, can have a mild stored toxin from pesticides on immersed growth Asian farm sources, but needs to be lots of fluids released at one time to affect livestock. That could happen. It's a pesticide, something that's not actually the plant's problem, it's people. Joshua says, am I correct in assuming y'all only sell online, no public storefront type location?
Yeah, we don't have a storefront location. However, you're in luck if you want something off of us, because this weekend is the Pasco County Swap Meet. The Aquatic Club of Pasco County meets up around 15 minutes away from our house. So we are planning on bringing shrimp plants, basically whatever we have too much of. So if you're wanting something particular, you guys can place pre-orders with us, and we'll be able to bring it. Whether it's the swap this weekend or the Missouri Aquarium Society event that's happening next week, we are doing pre-orders for both of them, so you can get exactly what you want from us in person, but we don't have a storefront. I could also meet at like a Petco or something like that.
Dr. Anthony finally made it here. Said inert like my brain right now. Oh no.
When do you get back to the States? I've got plans to send you a package here soon. Send you some bags. All right. My favorite mosses for shrimp tanks, and I'll kind of go over the textures and stuff like that. In no particular order here, we have flame moss. I like flame moss. It's really easy to manage and maintain. Basically grows straight up in the air. It will grow very small amount of runners and side growth and stuff like that to kind of grow the clump out really big, but it is a rather slow growing plant compared to the most. Definitely don't get a golf ball size to turn into a whole 10-gallon tank in 6 months, but it is, really easy to manage. You put it in the back of the aquarium, it's going to do its moss thing, and you'll have the entire front of the aquarium to work with, feed your shrimp, cull, and whatnot. So flame moss, definitely one of the better ones. Then we also have weeping moss. Weeping is basically the opposite of flame moss. Weeping wants to grow straight down, and it doesn't get more thicker than like 2 or 3 inches. If you have like wood or some type of rock structure or something like that, it will cover it and kind of like web in between it. So you can get more than 3 inches of growth off of it, especially if it wants to grow up onto the sponge filter. It will kind of slope and really fill out the aquarium, but it is easier to manage. It will, in 6 months, a clump of it cover the entire bottom of a Caridina tank, not the inert Neocaridina tanks. It won't grow as fast or as dense and lush, but in our Caridina tanks, it's definitely one of the cooler plants to grow from the moss spectrum. It is also one of the better ones to try and grow on trees. So, you got something for me?
No, not yet.
No? All right. I need
There was something, but can't remember where it is.
Then we have Christmas moss. There is a mini Christmas moss. Obviously, mini, smaller, more compact. It is a little preferred. It grows a little bit slower, less maintenance and stuff like that. But just like the Christmas moss, it has kind of similar fronds to a Christmas tree. It's definitely one of the fan favorites. It's an easy one to sell. Spiky moss is similar to Christmas. It just kind of grows some weird, straight strands similar to like a flame moss strand just popping out of the Christmas. But it's basically just trying to send runners to grow a clump somewhere else. Peacock moss is kind of like Christmas moss. It just kind of curves at the end of the fronds. All 3 of them grow very similar, very fast. They can definitely fill up a 10-gallon tank in 6 months, no problem. And they hold up very well. You could also use all of those for a tree as well. And then you have plants like or moss like Saucertang, Mini Pelly, the Riccia is also one. These are all liverworts. That's basically like a moss, an algae, and a biofilm all mixed into one plant. So the liverworts, they're very similar growth. They do really well in similar conditions. The only issue with these is if you dose Excel or hydrogen peroxide or any type of algicide, you potentially run the risk of killing off the Saucertang. A lot of people will have like a Nubis or Boost or something like that that's choked out with Saucertang. You can easily kill that off by just doing a hydrogen peroxide dip, and it'll get rid of it off of the rhizome and everything like that. I almost said rhizome again. So those are definitely neat mosses or liverworts to grow on wood and stuff like that. And then you also have algae, the red moss. Shelby, you want to bring up the scientific name for that.
Yeah.
But the red moss, it's red moss in the hobby, but it's actually technically an algae. And it's doing really well if it's looking nice and purplish in coloration. However, if it looks at like bright fluorescent neon orange, that's a good sign that it's dying. If it's like green or dull translucent in color, that's just from like growth periods where it's really having a growth spurt and spreading out like crazy. So Shelby just dropped that down into the comment section. I do have some of that available if anybody wants that. It is $30 for a golf ball portion. You can message us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com. I just don't have enough of it really to throw up on the website. As soon as it's on there, it's usually sold out. So I'll offer it to you guys first. On top of that, we also have the large containers of salty shrimp, GH Plus and GHKH, the 2500 GHKH Plus tubs, and the 750 and 850 of the smaller container size for both. So
Joshua says, I live in Georgia, but my wife and I vacation in Clearwater and Venice Beach every year. We already have a B&B booked for early January. Should I just contact you through email when time comes?
Yeah. Yep. Thegardenofeater@gmail.com. So did you already start a giveaway without me?
I put it in there, and I didn't know that Fish Family can just see it. So they put it in the comments.
So it's already started.
Yeah, so some people saw it, but
Well,
I don't think everyone saw what
Let's announce it. What's the hashtag? What do you got going on?
Yeah,
for us,
we will be fishing with you too. We're not bringing the kids to the clash, so we got room for our rods. We bring our rods to the clash and go fishing with you, Sam. We've been nonstop on this fishing. Like, we did it completely overnight. Sam was on the phone with us most of the night. I mean, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. But what time was it your time? 1, 2 o'clock? It was 4 and it was 1 o'clock there.
Yeah, we pulled an all-nighter, ran down to the Everglades. I had a buddy that needed some help, so went down there, and then also took advantage of only being an hour away from one of the best collecting and sightseeing spots. So tons of gators were out. They were all playful. It was really lovely. Saw a lot of cool things. So what's up, Vibes?
You didn't say the giveaway.
Oh, well,
That's what we were talking about.
well, Vibes first.
Vibes. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. Says I'm here. Love y'all. Is subwassertang invasive?
So I don't know if it's invasive. I believe I've seen some on the river in the Chaz, but I also think I've seen similar liverworts growing on like the cave system near our house as well. So I don't know if it's invasive or it's a native, but we have the doctor in here, and maybe he will know. Hey, listen, Doc, I'm making a trip to the Everglades every single month, pretty much from here on out. So, yeah, if you want to make a trip back here to Florida and you want to go down to the Everglades, I would love to take you down there and try and find fish that I haven't identified yet. So, luckily we have Mark and everything's been identifiable so far.
Snakes are like iffy on that.
The snakes are iffy. The snakes are iffy.
I haven't. It's not as bad as people like. I mean, people say the snakes are just overrun. You should see how many people are out there wanting to take care of those snakes.
And
it's
they're all
crazy.
upset when they see us on the side of the road and we've got a big old fish in our hands, and the guy's like, yeah, I think I'm going to stop snake hunting and get me a dip net at the bait shop and start doing that because we ain't caught nothing. And the other people are like, oh, you found snakes? And I was like, yeah, 2 water snakes. And they're like, oh, we don't want water snakes. They're like all mad at me for even mentioning it. And then one guy's like, don't jump. It's not that bad. Life's worth it. Because I was on the side of the bridge looking into the water. And I'm like, oh, we're looking for fish. I'm not looking for snakes. If we find pythons, by all means, we'll help the situation out. But I mean, you're lucky if you see one or two of them out there every night.
We'll get to see local Dave again. So we have a guide while we're there. Local Dave.
Dave, you should be here.
Stop.
I'm right here. That was
No,
hilarious.
Dr. Anthony says politics of Florida will keep me away. Oh, goodness. You know what I say to those people? Okay, that's fine.
There's politics in the Everglades, though.
Yeah, it's whatever you're watching in the news is not happening in Florida. So many people are so
And Richard,
misinformed.
if you want to come join us when we go with Alex, you're more than welcome. The more the merrier, because the more people that are willing to get their feet wet, the more cool things you're going to get to see and take pictures of and stuff like that. So you don't want so many people that everything's running away, but we're not going to bring our kids next time, so there'll be some room.
Man, vibes going crazy here. Another $1.99 super chat and another $1.99 super chat. So did I miss it? What's the giveaway for? And let's get the thumbs popping, y'all. But are you gonna explain the giveaway now?
All right, so hashtag plants to get in on the giveaway. Shelby, what are we giving away?
I don't know.
All right, so of course I talked about the 3 horsemen. We're going to give away an Anubis, a Crypt, and a sword. All of them will be grown out of our immersed bins, so there will be some transitioning that will need to be taken care of. But for the most part, Crypts are like one of those plants that actually do better if you get them immersed. The plants don't tend to melt as much in shipping. They're going to melt on you regardless. It takes a little bit longer for them to melt underwater, but usually before it melts, a new plant leaf has already come up, and it gives you some hope. I'm going to throw in a little Java Fern, since it should have been part of the 3 horsemen. And how do we not include some moss? So I'm definitely going to throw in some moss. So you got those 5 plants that will be thrown into a little plant package for you. So hashtag plants. Don't know who's messaging
Me.
you.
Yeah,
Shelby.
because you say this, and then like a day later or whenever we go to ship out the package, you're like, "What did I offer?" I'm just, being prepared here,
And then Alice Shawn, if you're out there, I apologize because we went to the Everglades and went collecting. We did not ship out any plants on Saturday or any shrimp on Saturday, so we were a little behind today with orders all from 1 week going out in 1 day. So I will take care of you personally tomorrow or Wednesday. So it is coming. Sorry.
Richard said, Grant, you need to let me take you collecting on the west side of the Everglades.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to take you with me to the east side. I read that.
The Everglades is so big.
But yeah,
Grant's over here talking about
about
backpacking the Everglades. Alligator Alley. It's getting crazy now,
Sam,
okay?
you talk to Mike, you get us the camera, and then the 4 of us with Mark will go from the highest point of the Everglades all the way to the Keys, and we'll just film as much as we possibly can. And we'll use Mark as like lures and bait.
Alishon says, saw a few videos from guys looking for Burmese pythons at nights, find panther and veiled chameleons along with Cuba. Oh, we can't even find, I think he said Cuban anoles, but we couldn't even find a chameleon. I mean, I looked high and low for chameleons the whole time. I think we were just in the wrong kind of climate for it. They don't really like that area we were in.
I also think that they're probably closer to people where the panthers are, and we were like very like deep out, far away from most of the homes and like places like pet stores that might have accidentally been destroyed by a storm and had stuff.
After this, Alex is going, I'm out. Out.
Well, you can come a different month. Alex is just coming out with us next month.
Oh, Vibes coming in with $4.99 super chats. Do you have any parrot feather plant? Okay, I'll stop bugging you. Thanks for giving the community. Looking forward to meeting y'all sometime.
Yeah, but it's not like the best condition. I don't know why. Last year in the same condition, same plant, it thrived and looked incredible. And then we just haven't gotten like any growth out of it at all this year. So I would probably bring it in before our trip to the Clash and see if I can't cultivate and curate some before then. But it's definitely something I can get for you. It's one of the plants I like to bring in all the time.
Sam said you guys need more giveaways. I'll bring you a surprise pack of giveaways to the Clash.
Well, we gave out a Sam Scales print last week, so we gave out. But just say the word. I'll give out another Sam Scales print tonight. Just say it.
Sam, max 8 in an Everglades collection group.
Yeah, I mean, I think 8 is pushing it. I'm talking about adding on a fifth person. That I'm not getting too crazy, but eight would be nice.
Aqua Gardens Inn
No
says,
more.
I remember skimming for all the species down there. So many interesting things to find, especially in the shallows along the coast of Florida. I learned about skim netting from Nature's Classroom.
Yeah, we were catching everything from mine cichlids to silver siders to we didn't catch any Oscars this weekend. We caught Oscars the following weekend.
Changes
Cara,
so
jaguar
fast.
cichlids.
So fast.
Um,
I mean, when we were there, it was like you'd pull up and there'd be like 6 gar in one area. This time it was like none, and then there was like 4 bass. So I was able to catch a bass. I haven't posted that. That thing was so cool. Those are much harder to catch than the gar. By far, fast as can be. They feel that water movement as soon as you touch it. So you got to be really fast to catch a bass with a dip net. It is crazy.
and a lot of Balinese, which are the live bearer pike fish. They are super cool, super fast, and they're little jumpers. They kind of like skip across the water when they get spooked. They're probably like one of my favorite things to catch while we're out there. We even caught a peacock eel, so
Yeah,
that
that was
was that was really neat.
And Richard is down for
Yeah,
anything.
I mean, if you're, especially if you got a 4-wheel vehicle and you want to go, because if we fill up one vehicle, I don't know how we'd fit 8 people into Mark's truck.
no,
That ain't gonna happen.
I
But
can't even fit me and the kids in the back seat right now. Like,
Yeah.
I am hurting. Sam says, and the crocs are in the salty area near Flamingo, and the alligators are not a problem unless over 10 feet. I think alligators could be all a problem, even being small, if they're hungry or protecting their nest. I don't know if you've seen my TikTok, but that alligator scared the living crap out of me. I mean, I've never had one hiss at me, and I just was shining a light in the water at that Barbie doll, and that thing hissed so loud. I thought it was a snake I was on, like standing on a giant snake hissing at me. Like, it was so loud.
every time Shelby said Barbie, it would hiss again.
Yeah, it's like it was this Barbie doll. Like, really? Like, you're being this protective? Like, I feel like it was a little girl out there, and that thing scared the crap out of it, so it, like, dropped its Barbie and then, like, ran away. And it's some little girl's Barbie.
But the peacock bass are also fun. And then while we're trying to catch peacock bass, we've got people feeding the gators. So, like, that's the only time they really kind of get sketchy. Because the one that was fed was definitely coming up to me and getting a lot closer than the other gators when I was fishing. Doesn't really bother me when I got a fishing pole in my hand, because I'll just shove it right in its face and get up and over the ledge. But if I was a little old lady or something like that, I'd definitely be more worried, and definitely not having like Layla or one of the kids on the other side of the rail with that gator around.
Yeah. And it's most of them are fine. Like, they're not gonna bother you, and usually they get scared off and they just go anyways. It's just like,
I had a gator probably the
Just
same
not
size
bother
as
them.
Jaden right behind me, and I didn't even know it. I was all like, "Oh my god, look at all these little jaguar cichlids right here in the water," because I could see that clear as day. And then I just turned around to see what was on the other side, and yeah, there's a little 6-foot gator, a little 5-foot gator.
man, my spelling tonight is awful.
But he was turned the other way. He didn't want anything to do with me.
We were thinking the same thing. It's closer to Lakeland and Naples and stuff like that. So it doesn't seem like where we were at is really a spot for them. We do not have the Oscars, June.
If somebody wants to throw me a location to hand collect my own panthers, Layla has her own tank. So, like, you just let me know what kind of shrimp you want, and I'll send them your way
Anthony's
for a panther
down.
location.
We're going to have like a giant van at this point. Let's drive from South Carolina.
And Dr. Anthony says, "Did you see my message vibes? You better check the doctor's message."
Severum spot is what we need to find.
No, we have a Severum spot. I saw Severums, but we weren't able to catch them. So in the morning we went fishing rod and reel, and there's a Severum right there, but it never bit the bait.
Yeah, this is one misconception that so long time ago, like one of the biggest stories from Florida was about these people that were a kid got snatched up from an alligator over by the Disney resorts. First of all, it's posted everywhere, every resort, everything that has a body of water near it, that beware of gators, and especially at sundown, you just don't go near the water, whether it's alligators or sharks. If you're not from this area, don't do it. Like, you don't know what you're doing. And of course, they had a kid playing by the water in the afternoon, sunset coming down, and the alligator mistakes the kid for a meal. Obviously, anything sharks do that, alligators will do it. And then they proceeded to cut open like 30 alligators, not knowing that like they just take their prey back to their nest, and then usually snack on them, or they usually tend to not want humans at all, so they'll just spit them back out and just walk away. So it was a little upsetting, especially for people that know about alligators. But yeah, I doubt any little girl was taken. Most people are not out there, especially little kids. Our kids are out there, but they're far away from. It's no possibility for them to even be hurt. Not even close.
And then lots of tilapia. There's a ton of tilapia out there. In one scoop, we probably caught like 50 to 100 little baby tilapia that were all swarm.
See, Nathan, I've lived in Southwest Florida for 34 years, never heard an alligator hiss in person. I bet it's pretty scary, especially if you didn't know it was close by. I think the scariest part is because of how loud, and because, I did not know. I was just filming the Barbie doll. I was like, oh, what are the chances? I was talking about doing a Barbie video because that's a trend right now. So I was like, oh, I just want to use the audio. And of course, like I almost dropped my phone in the water. And then like you could see it a little bit later when it starts to come, like, because it's really aggressive. Like it's got to be protecting its babies or something we just didn't see. And it starts to come at us. I'm like, I almost dropped my phone again. And I was like, nope, done with nature. It's like the first spot.
You need to play that.
Yeah.
You need to play that clip.
It is so funny.
It's a great clip.
It's pretty good.
Like, nope, all right, done with nature. And just like starts to walk away.
Let's see if I could get the hissing. Oh, you get how mad I was at them talking while I'm trying to film too. That was the hissing there. That thing's loud as can be. But hold on. Done with nature. I don't know if you heard that, but I was done with nature. It was the first stop we hit. First one. I was like, of course these things are attacking us tonight. They are loud. I couldn't believe it.
She had to have been sitting on a nest or something.
Just didn't like Barbie. Yeah, I have gone up and down Alligator Alley my whole life. Never seen one hiss. I mean, you get to every zoo has alligators here. I've never seen one aggressive. Like that one was protecting something. So,
but
yeah,
they don't really seem to be an issue. Even when we're fishing, they really just want your fish on the end of that line.
We gotta get Nathan and Richard together at the same time, and we'll all go collecting. So you gotta find time. We usually go nighttime collecting. It seems
just
to be.
send location.
Yeah, we gotta get Kenny some bluefin killies fish. We have so many.
Bluefin killies, those are easy to catch. We're even catching bluefins out there, which is not really common to see too many like natives. Which like up in our area, I can stick the dip net into several ponds and every single time come up with a Fungulus. We're out there. I think I caught 1 or 2 Fungulus our first time, but I didn't catch any out there. And we were actually going through the weeds a lot more.
Anthony has 2 boats and down in the Keys quite often. Definitely hit you up next time down there. That's pretty cool. Gators are cool. And cracks are cool, but I don't think I'd want to get close to one. Like, I have a distance. I know, especially for their size, how far to be away from them. And I know the ones that are close, you know?
Yeah, Crocs I'm definitely like a little bit more worried about, but gators, you can generally tell when they're trying to coil back and make a move.
Yeah, that's exactly my point, Sam. Well, he did drown by the gator, but like it was not his fault. Like the gator's fault. It was definitely the parents should not have been near that water. That is loud.
All right, so we got a giveaway going on. Hashtag plants. We'll let that ride for another 5 minutes. Thought we had something else to report other than going to the Everglades.
Ooh, he's going nighttime collecting in Peru. I still get scared.
That I'm definitely jealous of. I definitely prefer to do that over the Everglades, but
Yeah.
Everglades
Oh,
is
that
the best
giveaway.
we got. What?
Are we gonna do the giveaway?
I just said in 5 minutes.
Oh,
a
okay,
minute
I'm
ago.
sorry. I wasn't listening to you.
Good. All right, so Lady Diane, I see you in the chat. We will see you next week. We don't have any plans to go to Gary's house. I think he will be in New Guinea or something like that during the time where I'm up there. So I have basically the first 2 days are not planned at all. I got to figure out when we're going to leave, when we're going to get there. But we definitely want to go to the zoo. We're going to have the kids with us. They're going to miss the second half of the first week of school. They'll be there for the first 2 days, and then I think we're going to head up that way. So probably stay until Saturday, and then if we can make it home by Sunday, maybe we'll go to the Reptile Breeders Expo over in Daytona, because I think it's like the same distance there from Missouri to my house. So it wouldn't be like any extra driving just to go to there. There'd be extra driving on the way home. So it's like the same thing of us going across the state just to go to a Reptile Expo. But I'll see how we feel. I just really wanted to go to that this year, but I'd already booked the Massey trip. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Lady Diane, Carrie and Jesse from Science Gal Aquatics, Melody and Josh from our Aquashella family, Jeremy also, who was just at the last Aquashella helping out. I know I'm forgetting more people. I'm sorry. There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of people at that club that we know. So really looking forward to that. Shelby left me. I have no idea where she went. But we've got 2 more minutes. Hopefully she's back by then for the giveaway. All right. So let's just jump into chat. Those otters get pretty dang big. Definitely want to tango with one. Otters are awesome. I had a guy when I was a kid in our neighborhood that had a pet otter, and he would walk it around the neighborhood. I definitely want otters, but definitely want to have a right setup. I know I have a swimming pool, but I think I'd rather use the swimming pool for the koi and turtles right now than have it build a large enclosure to keep everything from getting inside of it. One day, otters and caiman lizards, I don't know if they can coexist, but I'd build a large exhibit for that for sure. Yeah, it seems like you guys have a really great club out there. Definitely, I wouldn't say jealous because we have a really great club too, but I wish we lived closer to some of the areas that have like several great clubs, like the Keystone Clash. There's so many great clubs right in that little area that are within 2 hours of driving distance. There's just so many states that are all small and near one another.
Did you ask? Did you answer this?
No.
Have you ever attempted breeding Amanos?
So Amano shrimp are really not worth all of the energy and effort to get another $3 or $4 shrimp. There's not really a lot of issues with the imported wild caught Amanos, so there's not a lot of demand for homebred Amanos. They're a two-stage shrimp, so the larvae are not actually like the adults. They have to go through a morph, and when they're in their larva stage, they need special conditions that are usually in salt water with a lot of the right type of phytoplankton that they can survive off of, grow to, morph, and then have enough strength to make it upriver back into the freshwater systems that you find them at.
Speaking of, Sam will be at the North Reptile Breeding Expo in Daytona coming up. I wish we could go.
We
We
might.
made other plans.
We might possibly go on Sunday on the way
Oh
home.
my gosh, I'll be dead. I'll be dying when I go there. It'd be so nice, but still, it is the biggest reptile show. It was one of our first reptile shows that we went to.
It was the first.
Yeah,
It was
and
our
so
very
like
first
everything
one.
was kind of disappointing after that.
I wouldn't
Not
say
too
that.
bad.
The Fire and Ice shows I Repticon are pretty
I haven't
good.
seen those in a long time.
I love me a good Tampa Repticon, no matter if it's
Yeah.
a big one or not, just because I know where to park, I know how to get there without hitting the GPS, and they always have like a full convention center, even though it's not the largest. They always have the good vendors, the reliable ones. So
Anthony said, "Where is the Keystone Clash?" It's Pennsylvania,
Morgantown.
Morgantown. Yeah. Oh, Sam said Shelby went collecting. I did happen to get a lot more. I was lucky, and he also
No,
let
I
me.
was saying,
Oh.
I don't know where Shelby went. Sam said Shelby went collecting.
Kind of want to. That'd be nice. That would be great. I'm a little too tired. I did get that overnight really destroyed me. I don't age. I guess I can't do this no more as much as I used to, but
She,
keep sleeping.
it wasn't worth it until she caught the peacock bass at the end.
Yeah.
She caught that big bass right in the beginning. So then everything
It
from like
was-
bass to bass was just like, Grant, we already seen this. Are
Yeah.
we really stopping at every single puddle of water? And I'm like, yeah.
I mean, the
I'm trying to
first
go all night here.
the first place was the alligator, which I of course love to videotape and experience that. But and then the big bass that I caught that actually wasn't skinny this time, Sam. I even said it to Grant when I caught my first big bass. That was my first big bass I ever caught. The other one I've ever caught was like this big. It was so tiny. And I also caught a baby alligator at the same time. But that was my first one. It definitely looked like it needed a meal for sure. But this one was huge.
You
and they're
hooked the baby
so
alligator. You didn't catch it.
Oh yeah, you're true. Right,
that's
right.
illegal.
I probably could have caught it though. But yeah, I lost track of thought. I'm so tired.
She definitely fell asleep at times, and then all of a sudden we
Yeah.
hit some giant potholes, and then you hear her head slam against the window, and then be like, "Oh, she's awake again. I can talk to her."
It was so bad. The potholes are terrible there.
Yeah, you definitely
But,
need
yeah.
4-wheel drive out in the.
I already caught a huge gar, and I already caught a big bass, and then everything else was just kind of
I really want to go
repetitive.
somewhere where we can find knife fish and snakeheads on the banks and stuff like that.
snakeheads is what I'm going for
That-
next. I bought a
That's
frog
the next
for
location
those.
we need to figure out and go there.
Yeah.
Or Ballard County was where we need to go. But you want to pull that giveaway now?
Oh,
You should be
yeah.
good to go.
Let's exit these real quick.
What if my Cayman lizard is 5 foot big and the otter is only 2 foot, Sam? They can't cohabitate.
Make it. What is make it green?
Make it green.
I don't want to.
Make it green.
No. What if that ruins everything?
If it ruins everything, we start all over again. It's a plant package.
No.
Make it green.
Make it green. Oh,
That's lame, man. that was
I'm gonna refresh that one more time. Oh, now it's not green anymore. It's whatever. We're gonna draw now. Watch me struggle.
I
Look
thought
at
we were
this.
gonna
I can't.
save the world by clicking that button.
Why won't it let me draw? It did this last. Oh, it's because I'm not logged in.
Come on, Shelby.
Hey, I
We
log
may-
in to
Maybe
make
if
it.
we're logged in,
I don't
making it green
understand.
will look better.
All right, refreshing
green.
it. Make it green.
Green.
Spin. That was awesome.
That was for sure a Pokemon.
It sounded like
you
it.
were battling in Pokemon there.
Congratulations,
man. You
Victor.
flipped
Are
that.
you here? Make sure you comment down below to make sure that you're still here. Oh, it's for green screen. That makes sense. That makes sense.
All right. So,
Matt.
and listen, we watch Stephen P. I'm in the chats enough. Doesn't mean I make it to the giveaways. Sheesh.
Richard says they have peacock bass and knife fish at the Golden Gate 45 minutes away. Victor, are you here? Has anyone seen him comment? We will redraw if you're not present.
Victor's here. Let's say something.
No, yep, he's here.
I knew it.
Yes, you really won. Make sure you email us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com and we'll get that out to you. I'm going to type that down here. I think people are having problems with that. Am I typing it right? Are you looking?
I don't know. I can't see that far. I'm done with my eyesight. Sign me up for a new pair of eyes.
Oh, it says record winner. Oh, okay. We did that. We did it.
And then did Sam say anything about giving away a print tonight?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, I've wanted a fish like Ida. I heard that's pretty big for giant peacock bass too. But I've also heard that everybody knows about it, so it's heavily overfished now. So without having like a boat, I don't know if I would go to Lake Ida. That's I don't know. I need like a guide to show me certain spots before I feel comfortable just wasting a whole trip to go see them. So I really trust Mark. Yet I feel like he's leaving out some of the good spots. Like he doesn't want to bring us to the C100 canal, Sam.
He's not going
He's
to.
capping.
Sam did say at least
We were
you
on
didn't
our way
fall
there,
asleep while driving. Like someone did.
Listen, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've taken over and driven. So yeah, definitely gotta be careful driving through the night if you're not used to it.
Ooh.
Come on, we got 12 more minutes. No more
I'm
yawning.
struggling.
Pull yourself together here, Shelby.
I'm trying.
Zeus says I'm not great. I can get it on the first shot.
Big shrimp, and yeah, if you sent
Tell
us
that
an
to the
email
Tangerine Tigers.
and and we didn't respond to you, I would send it to thegardenofeater@gmail.com. The one I just put into chat a second ago. That one is not as flooded as the other one, so that's why we split it up and do it.
Yeah, a lot of things have been getting sent to spam, and I haven't noticed them. And even when I check the spam folder is just riddled because it's the same email I've used since I was a wee little lad. What?
Yeah, I don't know why it hasn't been changed in the Fish Fam link. I think we said something last time about it, but I
Just
forgot
the person
to
that
mention.
runs that, he just
Stop. Now that you're paying attention, Grant, where's my discount code? You didn't tell me about that.
no. All right, so I have an issue with trying to get it to work where they don't stack. We couldn't figure that out. I couldn't figure it out on my own, and you've been busy. So if we can figure that out, but there's a hard shot chance that we have to go with another website provider altogether. Our website might be changing. Our logo
Giveaway
might be
print.
changing.
Bring it.
All right. So hashtag,
Hold on. Oh yeah, it works anyway. So
yeah,
you can do it.
hashtag scales, and we'll give away a print. Let's make it Sam's choice tonight.
You said scales.
Scales with a Z. All right, we got some choices here. Sam, do we give away this beautiful red cherry shrimp painted by Sam Scales? Red Galaxy painted by Sam Scales. Another red cherry. A blue bolt painted by Sam Scales. Or a comb used by Grant. So your choice, Sam.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know.
What is wrong with you?
It was on top of the stack. Had to change it up. Make sure he's paying attention. So the print will be Sam's choice or the comb. I guess, somebody wants my DNA. It could be valuable. I work very hard. Everybody knows that, all right?
I'm disturbed by you.
I'll get some for Matt. I can get some of Shelby's DNA real quick. It's on there now.
Stop. Oh man.
And then, yeah. Did he say which one to give away?
Lady DNA. Grant's DNA. No, not yet. Vibes coming in with $1.09 super chat. Said yes. Thank you, Vibes.
You've got to win, Matt. Watch this be the one that Matt wins. Matt's playing on Fish Fam Link. He's gonna jump into every account he's got to play on this one. Is Sam not even paying attention tonight?
He was just talking. Was that the duckweed comb? No, it's an actual comb for him. His beard
Yeah.
gets a little out of hand sometimes.
It's getting hot. About time to get rid of it.
No. Not even your daughter wants you to get rid of it. She
No,
gets
she
so
does.
mad.
100% she does now.
She gets mad when
She
you
wants it gone. She wants it gone. The problem is I look like a 15-year-old kid if I shave it off.
I don't think Sam was paying attention when you did that.
All right, Sam, you got a choice between a red cherry, blue bolt, or red galaxy print. Which one are we going to give away tonight? Or the comb? That's always a choice.
Stop. Are we just gonna stare at the screen, or are you gonna
I'm waiting
answer?
for Sam. Like, this is. If he's
You
gonna
know,
leave
it's like
me
a
hanging
delay,
like that-
so it's just like you take a minute to just,
See, Lefty wants my comb.
Nathan wants the blue.
Go blue.
Give 3 prints away. I'll send more.
All right, so the man himself has spoken. We're going to give away the red, white, and blue combo. Boom. All 3. Red cherry, blue bolt, red galaxy. It's like beginner, intermediate, and advanced expert levels of shrimp keeping right here.
Jeff says, Shelby, I'm on Team No Shave Never. So I like that.
I just keep thinking back to that little old lady that was giving Lucas so much crap at the Triple Crown. She's like, I just hate this. If you would just get rid of this. And I'm like, I feel you.
It's too much.
I get the same
He
way
just
when I
needs
get
to
that.
trim
far.
it.
Yeah.
You just need to trim it. That's okay, but not shave it all the way down. Like I don't. No, you look like you're 18 again, and then I look like I'm 40 dating an 18-year-old, which is not great. I mean,
Not
like a
at
lot of
all.
people are like, "Oh yeah, wonderful." Like, "Oh no, it's awful." That's exactly what it looks like.
See,
I
that-
don't get to just shave my face and look like I'm 16 again. I don't even get that opportunity. Like, I just straight look like I'm 40 at all times now.
Lefty's team, no facial hair. So what's Sam? Sam just said something. I'm curious to see if
Sherman wants to come home. It's so funny.
Sam, have you even gotten around to painting one of my 2 favorite shrimps yet?
Like, he hasn't been super busy.
That's what I mean, he knocks out one a day, you know? It's a good little thing to do.
Lady Diane. Thank you, Benjamin.
Yeah, I keep telling
We're
her
gonna
that,
have
Benny,
to draw this in a
but
minute.
she
Five
doesn't
says-
believe me.
$1.99 super chat says donation for new comb and shaving products.
Listen, what really hit me was when we were at the Florida State Fair,
Thank
and
you,
one of the
Vibes.
guys that's trying to get you to play his games, he's like, "Hey, come over here, come play some of the games with all that money you saved from not shaving." Because I had full on like the biggest beard and a mustache, and I was like, that joke was almost good enough that I almost went to that booth to go play and win the kids a prize. But that hit me. I thought it was funny. It's all laziness. I would
Thanks,
shave it
Crown
if it
Tail.
was like.
He
lot less
really does
timing.
look super young when he shaves it off, though. It literally looks like we're back to being like when I met him. He barely had a beard at all. So like he shaves and everyone's like, "Wow, you look really young," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks." You know. Now I'm gonna look older with you.
But you don't look old at all, like Benjamin said.
Oh, girls get makeup. You're right. I feel like I would actually look older with makeup on. Like if I did full face. I did do full face one time. Now, needless to say, my friend was not that great at makeup. But I did walk out of the room, and Grant and Eddie both just looked at me and was like, "Oh." Like I've never seen someone so disappointed with. Usually when someone puts on makeup, they're like, "Yeah, it looks great." They both were like very, very trying not to be mean about it, but it was bad. It took
For
it was a lag on that. We see it now. We saw it now.
Took some time to get to us.
How about an update on Layla's shrimp paintings? She has not painted another shrimp. She's actually hasn't painted recently. We've been so busy. They've been watching Naruto.
She's been drawing a little bit, but not nearly as much as she was. But I'm sure that's all going to change when she goes back to school, and she'll probably be doodling more than she'll be doing schoolwork.
Oh yeah, like her mom. So I think Grant has like a whole shoebox full of pictures while I was still in school and he was in college of me just drawing him something like every single day. That's all I did was doodle.
And she come home with flowers all over her arms.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was particular, always had a bag full of permanent markers and drew all the way up my arms. The fact that I don't have tattoos, I think astonishes most people that went to school with me, because there was not a day that there wasn't art drawn on me, like stars, turtles, roses, like to the point where people thought they were real tattoos. But they're just so much money for like a good one. Anthony says, I thought I was max 32 years old. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm only 30. I did just turn 30. I've literally, if you don't understand how much I love Naruto, we watched the whole thing, and today I was sitting like right there. My kids watch TV here, and I was doing dishes and turned off my show that I watched dishes and like watch Naruto again. I was like, oh man, this scene was so good. I gotta watch it again. It was good. Naruto is important. It is. It's a good life lesson for sure.
The Benny Tay.
What is that?
Superset.
What's that?
I don't know what you got going on there, Sam. I thought we were going to have exclusive ones just for us that those were picked out for. but
So we
I'm
have
sure what you got going on is better.
started to watch Boruto. Honestly, it's not as good as Naruto, obviously. I was super happy to see all the families that were together and had their own little kids, and it was cool to see everyone together. But it's just not as good. We're still in the middle of it.
I think
And-
the problem is
yeah.
we got to the part where it's subtitles and we just don't have time to watch TV and read.
Read, yeah, we have to like.
Like I'm always
things.
trying to do something and multitask if we're watching TV, and yeah, you can't multitask subtitles. All right,
Look
pull
at
it.
how she has my heart. We could talk about Naruto all night. Sorry. All right, we are going to
Scales. Last chance. Last chance.
refresh. We've not been doing that very, very often lately. All right, one more refresh. Still the same. And
53
spin.
people.
Malcolm Reynolds.
Congratulations, Malcolm. Are you in chat?
I'm always sad when I see Malcolm Reynolds in chat, and I think that we're not going to the Chicago,
Show, yeah.
and I'm not going to see Malcolm. You're one of the best helpers we have at the shows. All right, he commented it, so very happy to
Yeah.
see you, and happy to see that my
Congratulations.
comb is safe from going to Matt's. So congratulations, and that is going to be it for this week. Next week, we will be, we'll still be here. So it'll be after the swap meet. So we'll find out what we sold and got rid of at the swap, or what we picked up, and getting ready for Missouri. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the support. Thank you, Vibes, for all the super chats. Thanks, Jeff Kane. Who else am I missing? There's one other person. I'm so sorry. I can't remember now. I feel
Don't
horrible.
ask me, I'm terrible. Oh,
But
here we
we
go.
appre-
Here
oh.
we go. These were
Jeremiah and Foxy and
at
for
that.
the 14-month.
I can't
member
believe
chat.
those showed up. They fixed it in StreamYard. So
Oh, very nice.
super happy.
Did we get the improved StreamYard yet?
Sam will be at the Clash. No, we have not.
Crypt Keeper, I'm gonna need you to send me a message on Sunday so we can get the improved StreamYard. I don't know why we haven't done it. We just never think of it until we're on the stream. So if somebody can remind us on Sunday next week, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you
Till
so
next
much.
week. Have a good time.